Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Last night we were discussing some of the issues, some of the problems that many Muslims have to face today. Brothers who are students of knowledge, brothers who may be 9 to 5 Muslims, layman Muslims, brothers and sisters who are the classification that I've made myself, a studious layman, semi-talib ilm, a semi-student of knowledge. Person is not 100% talib ilm, they haven't been overseas, they don't know the Arabic language completely, they haven't memorized the entire Quran completely, but they're, without a question, a few notches above the average 9 to 5 on the train layman Muslim. They can read the translation, but they can also read a few things in Arabic. They can understand more than what they can actually say and speak. And most importantly, the most important thing is that they have the wish and the desire to learn more and to be more. But they're still not on that level in which they're actually, quote unquote, talib al-ilm, let alone a strong student of knowledge, someone who's been studying it for years, so on and so forth. So with that being said, one of the problems that all of these people face is the concept of fiqh values, or fiqh wars, and fatwa, and opinions and views and madhabs, and khilaf, differences of opinion among the people of knowledge, so on and so forth. Khilaf among the people of knowledge, what to do is confusing, so on and so forth. And oftentimes the reason behind this problem isn't necessarily the fiqh itself, or ilm itself, or even hadith, like we spoke on in Malaysia. The reasons behind the scholars of hadith differing. Oftentimes it's not the science itself, oftentimes it's the presenter of the information. The one who's giving a class, or the one who's passing on the information, or the one who's teaching. Oftentimes he or she is the cause behind the confusion. Because you may give something which is too much, or you may say something which is too much to be said, or it's inappropriate in this sitting. The people don't need this khilaf, they can't handle this khilaf. The student of knowledge who's a beginner, he doesn't need to deal with this khilaf, and so on and so forth. So oftentimes it's the presenter of the information who's at fault. And other times it's not the presenter of the information, but it's the actual student himself or herself. You're at fault. You're at fault. And that's because a person could be in a class which they shouldn't be in. Or a person could be in a class which they thought was something, but it was geared and designed for something different. Okay? It's geared and designed for something different. Thirdly, a third angle, or another way of shedding light, is that it's not the fault of anybody, but it is what it is. It is confusing. And it can make a person become frustrated and want to give up, or want to seek a simple, easy opinion, so on and so forth. Where's the balance? In which I'm not following my desires, which was looked down upon by the people of knowledge, prohibited, which was known to them as tatabbu'ur rukhas. Tatabbu'ur rukhas. And which we commonly say in America, fatwa shopping. Which is not necessarily the accurate translation, because sometimes you have to shop for a fatwa. There's nothing wrong with that. And when you shop, you look out for bargains and discounts. And you look out for a better size and a better fit. This is fresher here. This better here. This stuff is really not authentic. This is the fake replica here. This is the real stuff. You have to shop sometimes. But tatabbu' rukhas is when a person is shopping just based off of their desires. I want the fatwa which makes it easiest for me to do what I already want to do. Or I want to find a view or the opinion, the Hanafi, Shafi'i, or whatever, because that's what I wanted. I want to buy the house, or I want to marry the sister, or I want to marry the brother, or whatever the case may be. And many people that make a mistake with regards to this as well. Just because the fatwa, or just because the opinion and the madhab agrees with what you want to do, doesn't mean that you're fatwa shopping. It doesn't mean that it's a bad and it's haram thing just because that's what you wanted to do. I wanted to buy a house on a mortgage, and I found this fatwa and it's in accordance with what I know is correct, and alhamdulillah. Doesn't mean it's haram just because it's in agreement with what you want. But the problem is looking and searching for what you want and then lowering your defenses to get what you want. And what you go against the values and the principles that you know must be upheld and adhered to. You understand this? Of ilm, of knowledge, strong knowledge. And you feel that this person's knowledge is kind of shaky. But what he's saying is making sense to me. And is agreeing with, I want to get the house on mortgage. You see what I'm saying to you? Or it wasn't a third talaq. It was only the second talaq. But you and yourself feel in your heart that this person's knowledge really isn't that strong. That's an example in which you're fatwa shopping and it's haram. And that's because you're looking for that which suits your desires. That's a difference in which you go to someone who you feel the knowledge is strong and you feel that they are pious and you feel that they are using the correct principles of ijtihad, and he says that is only the second talaq, she's still your wife. Alhamdulillah for that. So there's a difference. All right, they're principles, and there has to be a balance with regards to that, okay? So the ulama of Islam, they haven't left any leaf or stone unturned when it comes to fiqh and how to study it and how to practice it, how to learn it, how to teach it, how to explain it. But oftentimes it's based off of the dissemination of that fiqh, how we spread it and how we propagate it. Some brothers, alhamdulillah, are sincere, inshallah. Only Allah knows in the hearts of the people, but it seems as if they're sincere. And they try their best, but their best isn't good enough. Their best wasn't long enough. If you went to Egypt for a year and a half, 2 years, there's no time to study fiqh properly and thoroughly. You barely learning Arabic in 2 years. You barely trying to memorize the Quran in 2 years. You're picking up a couple books, this and that, and you get sound clips and sound bites. And oftentimes you just have a collage of information. What they mean by Baz Albani, just, a mixture, a fruit salad of stuff. What's the rule on wiping over the socks? Oh, Sheikh bin Baz says permissible. What's the rule on divorcing a woman? Oh, Sheikh Uthaymeen says such and such. What's the rule on going on your knees first? Oh, Sheikh Albani, that's it. That's the fiqh. Because it wasn't on time. It wasn't enough time to study it properly. I had to learn Arabic. I had to memorize Surah Al-Thalatha, Kitab Tawheed. It wasn't on time to study it properly. So I come back to America and I do my best. And I teach with the best way I know how, give the information the best way I know how. Sincere, but at the end of the day, inadequate. Bottom line. And then there are those who may not be sincere. Only Allah knows who's sincere. They may know what's correct, or they may know the proper way of teaching, but it's a means of controlling the people and keeping the people in line by only giving them a certain stream of fiqh. We can't have them thinking outside of this box. All right? And that comes from only take from this scholar and that scholar, this book, only from this country, only from this translation. And that's a reality, okay? And then you have those who are sincere, who may be qualified or have more knowledge, but they're scared and they're afraid. They're terrified of people talking about them, or they're afraid of them being ostracized from communities, or they are afraid to believe in themselves, have confidence, and step up and do what they need to do. It's not for me, someone who's better than me, but Sheikh Fulan, I don't know. Or they don't want to say something which is going to upset the people. And it's just an urban thing. Don't think that I'm just talking about urban people. And it's not a black thing or a Salafi thing. No, and this applies all around the board. You could be someone in the urban, or you could come from Egypt, right? And you're at a Palestinian masjid. And you know that selling cigarettes and swine is haram. All right, you're from Azhar. And you give a fatwa that it's haram to have this business. And most of the people in your congregation are from Palestine. And they have supermarkets and stores in which they sell this haram products. And they tell you to keep silent. And if you don't keep silent, you'll be out of a job very soon. So don't think I'm just talking about a black Salafi thing. No, it could be anyone. It could be what? Islam? Anyone in which the person is scared and afraid of being ostracized, and the person being, as we say, in the Freemason culture, a person being blackballed. That's where that term comes from, Muhib. Blackball, yes. When it's time for you to get voted in and for you to be accepted, all right, they have different types of balls that will come out of the box. And if it was a white ball, then you'll be leveled up to the next level of masonry. And if a black ball came out, the other master masons voted you what? Unsuited to take the next level of masonry. That's where the term comes from, to be blackballed. So a person feels he's going to be ostracized and kicked out of the community if he's trying to teach the right way. All right? And then alhamdulillah, you have a few brothers and sisters that are sincere, inshallah. Hopefully they have learned the proper way. And obviously they haven't learned anything, but they're on the right track. And they're not afraid, and they're willing to teach it in the proper way. All right? So with that being said, bi'idhnillah, there are many sources to learn this proper understanding of fiqh in theory and in practice. In theory and in practice. Tonight I'm just going to give you one book, inshallah ta'ala. One book from among many. And it's a modern day book. It's not an ancient book, but it's a modern day book. I'll show you here the PDF. The name of the book is called Al-Qawa'id al-Usuliyya al-Fiqhiyya al-Muta'alliqa bil-Muslim ghayr al-Mujtahid. Book says Al-Qawa'id al-Usuliyya al-Fiqhiyya al-Muta'alliqa bil-Muslim ghayr al-Mujtahid. And this book is authored by Dr. Sa'ad ibn Nasr al-Shithri, Hafidhullah, who's well known, respected. He wrote a book here which he dealt with Al-Qawa'id al-Usuliyya al-Fiqhiyya, principles of fiqh and theory and practice, usul al-fiqh, for the day-to-day Muslim, or the Muslim who isn't mujtahid. He's not on a level of independence, but he still has to be armed with the what? The basics. And a bit more, especially in the challenging times of 2019 in the United States, in which is everybody for themselves. He has a madhab, he has an opinion, he has a fatwa, who do we turn to? It's confusing, all right? With regards to these different issues. Whatever the issue, what? Maybe smoking cigarettes, listening to music, isbal, whatever the issue may be. Niqab, making hajj with haram money, mortgaging, financing a house, etc. Whatever the issue may be, huh? Alhamdulillah, when we were in the UK, we received a free copy of the translation of the book, Usul al-Fiqh, for the Muslim who is not a mujtahid. Sheikh Sa'ad ibn Nasr al-Shithri, translation by Abdul Wahid Stevenson, Essential Studies in Islam series, Inside Islam Publications. I believe the translator was the Sheikh of the Markaz when we visited Brixton that night, if I'm not mistaken. I believe so. Okay, alhamdulillah, he was kind enough to give us some books. He gave me several books, alhamdulillah, several translations, as a token of goodwill and brotherhood. May Allah accept it from him. This is the translation. They have it in the United States as well. I've seen it in Brooklyn before, in Dar es Salaam. So it's a very good book. I was fortunate enough to come across the book when I was in Saudi Arabia. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Ali Davis who put me down with the book one day when we went to visit him in Mecca, the Arabic book, years before it was translated. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure. Al-Muhim, I read the book in Medina and benefited from it tremendously. Very important book, very beneficial book. So Abdul Qawi, this is something that you want to have with you. Check it out, read it. لا يا شيخ للأسف هدية إن شاء الله بإذن الله ولكن however يا شيخ المهم inshallah, if you get a chance to read the book, check it out. I think it's very practical, and it will help you to understand some of the do's and don'ts with regards to asking a question, with regards to seeking a fatwa. Who can you ask a fatwa from? And what is a fatwa? Okay? And what are the rules of fatwa shopping and khilaf of the ulama and things like this? If a scholar retracts a statement, perfect example. Someone takes back a fatwa, doesn't mean that you have to take back your taqleed. Doesn't mean that you have to switch like he switched. He gave the fatwa that's permissible to do it. It's permissible to buy a house in America with a mortgage, mathalan. And then 10 years later he changes, or wearing a watch is makruh. Even though that was never said, but hypothetically speaking, to wear a watch is what? Makruh. Or muharram, has haram. And then later on you see the sheikh with a what? Allahumma something with multicolored dials, huh? Multicolored face. It changes in the sun, depending on what? How you flick your wrist. They say, yeah, sheikh, ma hada? What's this here, sheikh? We never seen you wear a watch before. Now you come out with a what? Something exotic. And then the brothers criticize, astaghfirullah, you're a hypocrite, you're a munafiq. Not necessarily. Everyone understand this? So do you still have to stick with the original what? Opinion. Everyone understand this? Enough jokes. You get the point I'm trying to make. It's very, very important, huh? Bidnai ta'ala. So check out the book if you get a chance, huh? Inshallah. Wallahu alam. And then many other books too. And then what? There are other books as well in Arabic and in English. Okay, many in Arabic. Another very important piece of advice is the people who find it difficult or they complain, the energy that you use finding it difficult or complaining should be energy used to find a solution. So the better you are in usul al-fiqh, the easier it is for you to navigate and steer through all of the confusion. And you can be good at usul al-fiqh even on a basic level. Even in English. Even in English. Without knowing no Arabic. You know there's general, specific. You know there's nasikh. This is an abrogating text. And that text was abrogated. And you know the conditions for that. There cannot be abrogation unless there is history. The Prophet mentioned this hadith in the 9th year of the Hijrah. And this hadith was narrated by Khadijah. There can't be no abrogation unless there's no way of harmonizing between the two what? The two texts. Alaykum salam, the two texts. Whether it's hadiths, can the sunnah abrogate the Quran? That's a discussion in itself. So for sure we'll just say hadith for now, to keep things safe. Can the sunnah abrogate the Quran? That's a what? That's a discussion, huh? Many scholars say it cannot. Al-Muhim, at the end of the day, is that you can navigate better with knowing more what? Usul al-fiqh. Even if it's in what? English. Many people don't even know what usul al-fiqh is. Many people, they just think that fiqh is just, you know, some haphazard collection of views. A madhab. Or what? A school of thought. That's it. What is a school of thought? All right? The book of Dr. Bilal Phillips. Perfect example of that. Excellent work. The Evolution of Fiqh. That book has been out for how many years now? Many years. That's an old classic. Beautiful book, which gives you the background, the breakdown, and the history of the madhahib, and how the madhahib come together, and how the madhahib what? Separate. And what makes the Maliki madhab different from Shafi'i, from Hanafi, from Zaydi, from this, etc. And there are other books, as I said, what? In English as well. So you need to put together these books, collect them, compile them, read all of them, summarize them, write them down, and I guarantee you it'll make it much easier for you to have a better way of dealing with the fiqh views and the fiqh opinions. All right? Another very important concept is to have a wealth of hadiths. A wealth of hadiths. Even if you don't have the sharh, even if you don't have the understanding, but just coming across them, reading them, being familiar with them, hearing about them. All right? In abundance. So you have your summarized Bukhari, you have your summarized Muslim, you have your Muwatta, you have your Bulugh al-Maram, wahakadha. You read them on a daily basis, make a wird of hadith, just like you have that of the what? The Quran. 30 minutes a day after Fajr, an hour a day, a juz of hadith, huh? Every day inside Bukhari I read a what? A juz, huh? 22 pages. Approximately. In the Usman's Mus'haf, a juz is what? About 20, 22 pages, depending on the juz, right? So do that a day. Read 20 pages inside Bukhari every day. It'll make a big effect on your what? Fiqh. Everyone understand this? Also having the basics of the sharh of hadith. Alhamdulillah, we've been trying to provide this over the years. How to make an explanation of a hadith. Everything is an explanation of hadith. 5 minutes of fa'idah, khutbah, class, book review. It's always giving you the what? The principles of analyzing and breaking down. The lugha, Arabic language, usul al-fiqh, this, that, nawi, scholar, wahakadha. All right? So there are ways that you can what? And also asking questions, very important as well. As what? Asking questions as well. And there are certain principles that every single layman Muslim can learn and should learn when it comes to hadith and fiqh. In which you're not a mujtahid, you're not even a student of knowledge. I work 12 hours a day, but I have my what? My survival kit. My fiqh what? Survival kit, huh? Just like medicine. You don't have to be a doctor to understand this is bad for you. When you feel sick, take this. Where I come from, it's what? Orange juice, chicken noodle soup. It's a basic, basic survival kit right there. Your grandmother make you what? Chicken noodle soup and orange juice, right? Other countries, other cultures, maybe what? Miso soup, huh? It may be different, huh? طيب وهكذا. What? وهكذا, right? Self-defense. You don't have to be a grand fighter to have some basic principles of what? Self-defense. Someone jump on you. What is the first thing you do? Right? It was the first thing you reach for. Something, huh? You got some pepper spray at night, whatever. I'm basic what? Basic self-defense. And you're not helpless in which someone just pounces on you and you're just their prey. Basic self-defense. I'm not a tough guy. I work in an office. I'm no big tough person, but I know some basic kick, scratch, and run away from the situation. Basic self-defense makes it a huge difference in you being victimized and ran over flat and you having a what? A fighting chance. A what? A fighting chance. Being street smart. Knowing that you have no business on this block. You have no business being by yourself. You have no business being here at that time. No business there. Walking in the dark parking lot at this time of night by yourself. Most people, what does the poet say? What is the meaning of crime? Is it criminals robbing innocent? What? Every time. C-R-I-M-E. C-I-M-E, What is meant by that? Is it people being attacked by criminals or people being victims of their own stupidity and not having the basic principles of when and where and how? And the same applies to Islam and what? Fiqh. You can't blame it on Sheikh Fulan or Imam Fulan or Brother Fulan all the time. But oftentimes it's what? Your fault for not arming yourself with the what? The basic stuff. And also, a little more if you have the desire and the appetite for that. Everyone understand the point I'm trying to get to? Wallahu alam. Tayyib. Inshallah, tonight's class, it's on chapter 6. The author says, Babu hidayati hadhihi al-ummati li yawm al-jum'ah. حديث أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قال نحن الآخرون السابقون يوم القيامة بيد كل أمة أوتوا الكتاب من قبلنا وأوتينا من بعدهم فهذا اليوم الذي اختلفوا فيه فغدا لليهود وبعد غد للنصارى. Chapter 6 says guidance of this Muslim nation for Friday. Narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Hadith 496. The Prophet ﷺ said, we Muslims are the last, but we will be the foremost on the day of resurrection. Though the former nations were given the book before us, and we were given the holy book after them. This is the day about which they differed. So the next day was prescribed for the Jews, and the day after it for the Christians. The chapter says that this nation was guided towards Jumu'ah. As we said last night, is another virtue and another excellence of the day. And not just the prayer or the sermon, but the actual day. And as we've also explained, the eve of Jumu'ah, the night before, and according to some scholars and certain narrations, the night of what? After Jumu'ah of Saturday, the eve of Saturday. Just like the month of Ramadan, in which the month of Ramadan has a virtue and an excellence that is not necessarily a requirement of fasting. But the actual month itself is what? A virtue. The month itself, the time period itself is excellent. It is of merit. It has nothing to do with the actual what? Fasting. A baby benefits from the time. A menstruating woman, a sick person, a traveler, all right? Someone who isn't fasting, someone who's too old, too young, they also benefit from the actual what? Month. And in Saudi Arabia, whenever you need some administrative work done or some paperwork done, something pertaining to a passport or a iqama or a visa, the people say get it done in Ramadan. Say do it in Ramadan. Seriously. Say do it in Ramadan. Whatever you need done, do what? Apply for it in the month of Ramadan. Everyone understand this? The virtue of the time. And the same applies to Al-Jumu'ah. And the Salah has a virtue. The khutbah has a benefit, has a virtue. But the actual what? The day itself. The day what? Itself. Tayyib. Excuse me. It says here, Babu hidayati hadhihi al-ummati li yawm al-Jumu'ah. Is that it's not an accident, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided this ummah to al-Jumu'ah. Allah guided this ummah to al-Jumu'ah. And FYI, or as a fa'idah, Whenever the word Jum'ah is used or mentioned, it means two things. Two types of ummah. First one is called Ummat ad-Da'wah, and the second one is called Ummat al-Ijaba. Ummat ad-Da'wah and Ummat al-Ijaba. Ummat ad-Da'wah is everyone who came after the Prophet ﷺ. Jew, Christian, Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, whatever. They're part of this what? This ummah. And Ummat al-Ijaba are only the Muslims who came after the Prophet ﷺ. So Ummat al-Da'wah are those who answered, or no, excuse me, are those who received the da'wah. They received it. They're called and they're requested to believe in him. As the Messenger of Allah ﷺ says in authentic Hadith and Sahih Muslim, there's a narration of Abu Hurairah, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ لَا يَسْمَعُ بِأَحَدٌ مِنْ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ يهودي ولا نصراني ثم يموت ولم يؤمن بالذي أرسلت به أو بعثت به إلا كان من أصحاب النار أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام أو بهذا الشكل أو بهذا النحو. I swear by the one whose soul in my hand is, anyone who hears about me from this ummah, whether he be a Jew or a Christian, etc., and then he leaves this world, he dies without accepting Islam, he'll be from the people of the fire. I swear by Allah, the one in whose hand my soul is, he will be in the fire if he does not answer my call. And this hadith clearly proves that Jews and Christians are not Muslims. Those who do not accept Islam after Muhammad ﷺ are not what? Muslims. Before Muhammad ﷺ, following the original teachings of Moses and Aaron, they're definitely what? Muslims. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, without a question. Following the pure teachings of Musa and Harun. But after Muhammad ﷺ, even if they continue to follow those teachings of Musa and Harun, they're no longer what? Until they accept Muhammad. Because there are some Jews who say that the Prophet, Muhammad is a prophet, but not for the Jews. He's a prophet to the Arabs, but not to the Israelites. Not to us. He's truthful, no doubt about that. But we don't have to follow him. We still have what? The teachings of Moses. They are kuffar. Let alone those who don't even believe in the Prophet Muhammad. So that, their speech of people who say Abrahamic faiths, and they're all believers, you can't say that they're non-Muslims, and so on and so forth, is kalam what? Fadi. Batil. And the other terms that you can use as well. Everyone understand this? So the concept of them being ummah to da'wah, no doubt. They are requested to believe in the Prophet ﷺ, and they're from this ummah. But there are other usages of the term or the word, in which the Prophet is only talking about the people who answered the call, who listened, who took the shahada, who believed in him. And those are called ummatul ijaba. And this basic principle, Abdul Qawi, is an example of a tool that you have. A small tool in your tool bag, which makes the turning of a screw or a bolt or nut or this. That's simple. Done. Easy. While a person is struggling and scraping his knuckles and breaking his hand to turn the thing, you can say, oh, done, finished, over. So this one tool allows you to take two hadiths which seem to be conflicting, which seems to clash, and you just say, no, this hadith is talking about Ummat al-Da'wah, and this hadith is talking about what? Ummat al-Ijaba. Done. No more contradiction. Everyone understand this? So you have your tools. So this one tool now, when you have a collection of tools, you can what? Cut through the propaganda. They say the hadith don't make sense, or this ayah doesn't make sense. One verse says this ummah will be in the fire, and another verse says this ummah will be in paradise. Kaif, look, the Quran is hypocritical. You understand? You have the tools to say no. You understand this? Tayyib, moving forward. So this ummah was guided to the Yawm al-Jum'ah, and it wasn't something which was a mistake. Rather, it was heavenly guidance. Guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that should make a big deal of significance to you. Every single time you go to Jumu'ah, you're fulfilling your destiny. And you're thanking Allah. Every single time you go to Jumu'ah, every Friday, you're accepting Allah's guidance. You're thanking Allah for blessing you for that day. When was the last time we thought about this or we think about this? You just don't go to Jumu'ah to get it over with, or because it's obligatory. But it's a gift, a blessing that Allah what handed you, and He caused the Jews and the Christians to be blind therefrom. And this also goes to show us another concept is the Jews and Christians aren't Muslims, that they're blind, and they're not loved by Allah, whereas He misled them from that day, and He only led the what? Muslims to that day. Everybody understand this? So these people who talk these different things, there lies no doubt, they're not reading the authentic sources in abundance. And if they are, then they're hiding stuff. And if they are reading them in abundance, then their cups are full. But it's clear, common sense. Allah guided us, and they differed, and that's why they have Saturday and what? Sunday. So how can you say Saturday and Sunday is good and positive and true? You understand this? It just doesn't make any sense, right? Tayyib. Moving forward. Hadith says, نحن الآخرون السابقون يوم القيامة. That we are the last, the al-akhirun, the last nation to come. But Allah Azza wa Jalla is going to put us in the front of the line, ahead of everybody else. As-sabiqun. We came last, but we're what? We're going to be in the front. The virtue of this ummah. And this should raise Islamic pride, Muslim pride. Be happy to be a Muslim. Be pleased in being a Muslim. Stop being scared and afraid of being a Muslim. Who cares about this president? No one cares about what they do to it. So what? That stuff comes and it goes. Big deal. Islam remains forever, eternal. You understand this? How good do you feel when you make salat? All of your worries and problems go away. You pray. Alhamdulillah, I'm a Muslim. Everyone understand this? Take pride in your Islam. We are the last to come, but we're going to be the first on that day. Be a proud Muslim. Okay? And it's something that the non-Muslims have been fighting for a long time, to get the Muslims to lose their pride and to lose their identity. Moving forward. بَيْدَ كُلُّ أُمَّةٍ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ مِنْ قَبْلِنَا. Every ummah was given his book before us. And obviously Isa, Musa, the other prophets and messengers, the ummah or the ummahs that they went to and they accepted their call, they were Muslim. They were what? They're Muslim. وَأُوتِينَا مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ. And we have been given the Quran and our scripture after them. فَهَذَا الْيَوْمُ الَّذِي اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ. This is the day in which they differed and they fought over. فَغَدًا لِلْيَهُودِ. So the next day will be for the Jews, meaning Saturday. وَبَعْدَ غَدٍ لِلنَّصَارَى. And the day after Saturday would be for the Christians. An-Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says regarding this hadith, فيه دليل لوجوب الجمعة وفيه فضيلة هذه الأمة. قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم اليوم غدا أي عيد اليهود غدا، لأن ظروف الزمان لا تكون إخبارا عن طيب، إلى أن قال فهذا يومهم الذي اختلفوا فيه هدانا الله له. قال القاضي الظاهر أنه فرض عليهم تعظيم يوم الجمعة بغير تعيين، ووكل لاجتهادهم لإقامة شعائرهم فيه، فاختلف اجتهادهم في تعيينه ولم يهدهم الله له وفرضه على هذه الأمة مبينا، ولم يكله إلى اجتهادهم ففازوا بتفضيله. قال وقد جاء أن موسى عليه السلام أمرهم بالجمعة وعلمهم بفضلها فناظروه أن السبت أفضل فقيل له دعهم. قال القاضي ولو كان منصوصا لم يصح اختلافهم فيه، بل كان يقول خالفوا فيه. قلت ويمكن أن يكون أمروا به صريحا ونصر عينه فاختلفوا فيه، هل يلزم تعيينه أم لهم إبداله وأبدلوه وغلطوا في إبداله. He says here, first and foremost, this hadith shows the obligation of Jumu'ah, that Jumu'ah is obligatory. And it also shows the virtue of this ummah, the fadila of this ummah, meaning the ummah of Ijaba, exactly. Because the Jews and the Christians are all from this ummah. But not ummah to what? Ijabah. Put the tool and what? And to practice immediately, right? He says here, the hadith shows that Jumu'ah is obligatory. He then says, Al-Qadi Iyad, listen carefully. Qadi Iyad, he says, Al-Zahir. He says, that which is obvious, and Allah knows best, is that it was obligatory for them to respect Jumu'ah, the Jews. It was obligatory. They had to make ta'zeem of this day. They were commanded and they were ordered to exalt this day. To do what? Exalt the day. To make it a special and important what? Day. He says, بِغَيْرِ تَعْيِينٍ وَوُكِلَ إِلَى اجْتِهَادِهِمْ لِإِقَامَةِ شَعَائِرِهِمْ فِيهِ. But it wasn't specified. It wasn't made specific. They had to have a Jumu'ah, but it wasn't made specific. And Allah Azza wa Jalla entrusted these pointing out of the day to them. They were responsible for pointing out the day. You figure it out when you want it to be, but it has to be a day which you respect, which is of congregation. And their ijtihad wasn't harmonious. They fought and they differed. They what? They fought and they differed and they couldn't agree and they couldn't point it to actual Friday. You with me or not? Everybody with me? He says, rahimahullah ta'ala, so they differed and Allah did not guide them to the day. Whereas Allah Azza wa Jal did what? The Muslims, the ummah of what? Ijabah to the day. Everyone understand the hadith means now? And the proper understanding of it? Because a person may say, what do you mean? Kayf. Did they have to do the same thing we had to do? Al-Muhim, they had a congregational day, which basically, what he's saying, the Qadi Iyad, it was supposed to be on when? Friday. But Allah Azza wa Jal didn't specify, He didn't make it specific for them. Ta'yin. He left it to them. And they didn't agree, they weren't given a success for the correct understanding. And this ummah is that it's going to be what? Jumu'ah, Friday. Everyone understand this? He then says, rahimahullah ta'ala, and Allah guided this ummah there too. And He did not put them as guardians of the ta'yin of the day, to specify when the day would be. But he gave them inspiration, divine inspiration, for it to be when? Friday. Jumu'ah. For the Jumu'ah to be on Friday. He then says, rahimahullah ta'ala, so the Muslims were chosen by Allah over the Jews regarding this. He then says, وَقَدْ جَاءَ, it's mentioned. Where is this mentioned? Is it an authentic hadith? He says, وَقَدْ جَاءَ, it's mentioned that Musa alayhi salatu wasalam commanded them with Jumu'ah. And he taught them of its virtue. And they debated with him and they fought with him. And they said that Sebt was what? Was better. Saturday. They said what? Saturday was better. And not actual Jumu'ah, not actual Friday. Quote unquote. فَقِيلَ لَهُ دَعْهُمْ, and it was said to him to do what? Leave them alone. There's no good in you arguing with them anymore. You're telling them what to do and they're telling you what? Their cups were full. They had too much. SubhanAllah, their cups were full. Everyone understand this? Tayyib, I'm telling you what to do, and he says what? No. La, this is better. And this is and the Nabi telling them that what? Moving forward. He says here, وَلَوْ كَانَ مَنْصُوصًا لَمْ يَسِخْ اخْتِلَافُهُمْ فِيهِ. But no, he says, or it said here that if it was text, if Musa told them what day was to be on, then they wouldn't have ikhtilaf. But it would have been disobedience. خَالَفُوا, and not اختلفوا. Two different words now. Ikhtilaf and then what? Khilaf. Some ulama say there's a difference between the two terms. Some say the ikhtilaf is one thing and a khilaf is what? Another. And some say they're synonymous. Moving forward. He says, Qultu, no, he says, perhaps they were commanded sarihan, they were told to do it. And he told them which day it was, فاختلفوا فيه هل يلزم تعيينه أم لهم إبداله وأبدلوه وغلطوا في إبداله. He says perhaps there's no contradiction between this and that Musa told them when it was to be, but they differed on the interpretation of his command. Does it have to be on this day, or can we switch it and make it on what? Saturday. And they switched it and they made a what? A mistake. A ghalitu. They messed up because Allah did not what? Guide them to the day. But he did what? Everyone understand this? The beauty of this hadith now? This is the first interpretation is what? What was the first interpretation? That wasn't the first interpretation. The first interpretation was what? We can all agree that based off of what he's saying, these two scholars, is that Jum'ah was something which was from the Sharia. But the first one is that it wasn't what? Wasn't specified. It was legislated, Sheikh. Ta'zim al-yawm. But it wasn't the ta'yin when it had to be. Could they respect Jum'ah on a Sunday, a Monday, etc.? The virtue of Jum'ah could have been done on what? Any day. Clear? Then they differed on when it should be. And the Lord did not what? Guide them to it being on the actual what? Friday. View number 2 was what? Musa did tell them, but they disobeyed. They disobeyed. They what? They disobeyed. We want sept, huh? We don't want A'udhu billah. It's serious. It's serious, and it's reality. And interpretation number 3 is what? No, he says no. That if it was something which was textually mentioned to them, then they wouldn't have differed. They would have disobeyed. And then he says, but maybe that's correct. In which Musa told them, he gave them, but they interpreted it in a different way. Can we what? Switch it on a Saturday. And they made a what? At the end of the day, what we can agree upon is that they were not what? Bottom line. Allahu Akbar. The Muslims were chosen for this day. And they were misled. They were not given the tawfiq. They weren't given the what? The tawfiq for it. Huh? Everyone understand this? And this goes to show you that when you do something correct, and you say something correct Islamically, pretending to knowledge, it's a means of what? Tawfiq. And somebody may answer a question or say something which he's not given the what? He's not given the tawfiq in that answer. And he's left to himself. Everyone understand this? Moving forward. Nawawi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says here, أضل الله عن الجمعة من كان قبلنا فيه دلالة لمذهب أهل السنة أن الهدى والإضلال والخير والشر كله بإرادة الله تعالى وفعله خلافا للمعتزلة. And then he goes on to mention an issue of theology or creed here. Is that Allah Azza wa Jal, He misled the people who came before us and He guided us to Jumu'ah. He says this is a proof for Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah that guidance and misguidance, good and evil, are all based off of the irada of Allah, what Allah wants. Allah the Mu'tazila. And the reason why I'm mentioning this, that's not a topic of our discussion, it just goes to show us that the enemies of the Ash'ariyah were the Mu'tazila. But little did these people know that the Mu'tazila were the forefathers, the founding fathers of the Ash'ari madhab. They were, with the Ash'ariyah without the Mu'tazila are nothing. And there are many things that the Ash'ariyah kept after they had supposedly left the Mu'tazila. After Abu Hassan al-Ash'ari, rahimahullah, Allah's mercy be upon him, left the I'tizal way, he still had many remnants of the I'tizal Aqidah. And many people, they don't understand that those are the founding fathers. The Mu'tazila that's the asl of Ash'ari creed. They differ with them, they branched off, they came to the Sunnah in certain things, but they still have the good chunk of what? No, a chunk, let alone remnants, no doubt. Everyone understand this? Let alone the fact that the principles that they use against the Mu'tazila are the principles that Ahlul Sunnah al Hadith use against the Ash'ariyah. The Ash'ariyah affirm certain things to Allah, and they say because of what? Quran and Sunnah. The good ones from among them. And the other ones from among them, they won't even say that. They'll say because of the aql. Because of what? Intellect. Tayyib. And it's an attribute that is befitting of Allah. And it's not like that of His created beings. That's the rationale of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah, Ahlul Hadith, the Aqeedah of the Salaf. We affirm this to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, regardless, whether we say with the aql or with the Quran and Sunnah. Because we can prove both. But let's say, for example, this is something which is befitting of Allah, and it's not like that of His created beings. What's the problem now? No, Allah can't have that attribute. Why not? It has to be interpreted. Why not? And that's the same thing that the what say? The Mu'tazila say to them. Allah can't have no attributes, because the attributes are similar. Similarity is comparison. Laysa kamithlihi shay'. So every proof that they use, to negate this or say this is figurative, we say go back to your history and go back to the wars that you have with the Mu'tazila and see how hypocritical you are. And there are certain attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that the Ash'ari do not affirm, and we affirm, or affirm to even stronger with the aql, such as love. They don't affirm the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It says figurative. And every verse in the Quran and every hadith, Allah loves the most beloved, the most fond, ahabbu, al-mu'min al-qawi, so on and so, ahabbu, all of those texts and ayat, Allah will love them, they will love Allah. All of those things He says what? Iradatul in'am. Allah wants to bless them. That's what's meant. Allah wants to give them a reward. We said we affirm aql, we affirm the love of Allah through what? Aql, more than the attributes that you've affirmed to Allah with aql. Due to the fact that you're taller than me and I'm shorter than you, you're lighter than me and I'm darker than you, it proves that Allah has irada, that Allah wants. He chose to make you like this and He chose to make you like that. That's aql. Allah saved these people, guided these people, blessed these people. That goes to show that Allah loves Allah what? He loves. So your whole entire madhab from A to Z is contradictory and hypocritical, and it doesn't make sense. From the history of it, let alone the concept of aql, let alone aql coming before the Quran and Sunnah, so on and so forth. So the point is that the Ash'ari, they will make it their business to refute the Mu'tazila every chance they get. Every what? Every chance they get. And it's also hypocritical to the people who say, oh, you people are always refuting people. All you do is refute people. You shouldn't refute no Muslim. It's disrespectful to refute someone. Don't make it, well, slow down. In your books, you do what? You refute people. When you find it an opportunity to refute someone. So it's not just Ahl Sunnah who refute people and refute bid'ah and misguidance. We're reading Sharh Sahih Muslim and he's doing what? Refuting the Mu'tazila based off of what he believes, whether he's right or wrong. You understand this? And most groups are like this, especially today. When it comes to something that they don't agree with or something that's against their agenda, they'll talk about people. And they have no problem calling someone a Wahhabi or a Najdi or you're immature or you're this and you're that. But didn't you just say Muslims should all get along? Didn't you just say Muslims shouldn't talk about each other? Didn't you say it's haram to talk about a Muslim? It's haram to say anything bad about a Muslim? And now you just call me a Wahhabi. Is that not name calling? You see the point I'm trying to get to? That's abuse. You've abused me by calling me a Najdi, by calling me a Saudi. I'm brainwashed by Saudi. So you're brainwashed from being in Egypt or Syria. Astaghfirullah, brother. Have respect for the scholars. Have respect for this imam. Is Ibn Abdul Wahhab not an imam? See the hypocrisy? Or those who say that we accept all faiths, we accept all ways, all interpretations. All right, I'm going to take the interpretation that a woman cannot be the imam of the masjid. They say, no, that interpretation is rejected. Why? If we're all liberal, you're supposed to do what? Respect what? All views, but not your view. You understand the hypocrisy? So you have to understand how to sidestep the games and get to the core of the nifaq of these people, whoever they are, in any issue. Everyone understand this? You just said to me that we're all Muslims, we're all believers, everyone is accepted. I'm going to take the orthodox interpretation of the Muslims that was around for 1,000 years, that it's literally haram to do it. Can I be in your group and sit at your table? They'll say what? No way. So you're not living by your what? Your value. You have no code of honor. In the United States, everyone is supposed to be a what? American citizen. Black, white, purple, green, Christian, Muslim, whoever. As long as you're trying to uphold the Constitution, right? Doesn't matter what you look like, what you dress like. That's supposed to be the rule. And you guys, you're trying to copy these people and imitate these people, and you're not actually living by their what? Their rules. Everyone can speak. Anyone can be on the board at the masjid or at the MSA or the college, except for the Wahhabi. But they're supposed to have done what now? Accepted and allowed all views to be what? respect it. And don't call anyone a bad name. Don't give everyone a bad title. Everyone understand this? So hypocrisy is one of the worst cancers that we suffer from. And which is okay for me, but not okay for you. We refute the Mu'tazila, but don't say nothing about Abu Hasan Ash'ari or the Ash'aris. Don't disrespect those imams. Okay, how many great imams, quote unquote, great imams came from the Mu'tazila? People that were thinkers, theologians. What did the Mu'tazila do for the Arabic language? What did they do for the Quran, for tafsir? They didn't serve it? So they'll say the Ash'aris have served the Hadith for 1,000 years, brother. The Ash'aris, they've serviced knowledge, they've done this. And so have the what? Mu'tazila before you. Then what? So, it's time for these types of things to what? To stop. Bidnillahi ta'ala. Allah surely knows best. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.